Episode starts off on some absolute nonsense. Bulma out here selling Goku to Satan, aka Oolong, for a Dragon Ball and a pack of Newport Light 100s. She stole the clothes right off the little village girl's back and hooked YN Goku up with the craziest Aunt Jemima cosplay to pique Oolong's Epstein's interest long enough to sneak into his island and find out where he's been hiding all the rest of them little girls at. Goku walks out the door in preparation for Oolong because you can hear Buddy long before you see him coming like his name Jibs. Big Oolong approaches Goku in his most polite to catch a predator energy, thinking that little Buddy is being shy by keeping his back turned to him. Long shiesty whole mindset backwards. Buddy acted like this transformation was what was making this whole situation foobar, rather than the whole affair being a little too Diddy adjacent, but they ain't never stopped Bulma. The moment this fool turned into George Costanza, Bulma walked her briefs right out that house and started thirsting like folks waiting for fresh water in Flint back in 2014. Whole situation had my stomach turning. Costanza asked Bulma how old she is. She says 16 with her whole chest, and Buddy starts fantasizing about all manner of things that don't show up nowhere in the Bible. What in the statutory? And to top it off, Goku pulls up his dress and starts pissing on a tree. Oolong starts bugging because while he may enjoy cupcakes, he apparently still has some demons to work out about the trans community, leading him to turn into a bull, which he is sure will scare everyone off and let him return to his island of questionable appeal with little to no drama. Little does he know, though, is that all he did was threaten Goku with a good time. Seeing Goku not backing down, Oolong enters a panic and hides. Turns out little Buddy's real form is a 2'3" slice of Canadian bacon. Shoutouts to Aubrey, and is only able to take a form for 5 minutes before he has to recalibrate his encryption. After he had a chance to recover, he takes the form of fake Mazinger Z and once again attempts to bitch Goku out in hopes of avoiding a tussle. The unexpected occurs in pairs though. When initially Homie somehow manages to burn his finger on a bowl of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, he spawned into the world with one of them badass little village kids get possessed by the spirit of King Von and fires off on the back of his head, causing Oolong of all people to give the local townsfolk a lecture about how they need to be taking care of their kids better. Seeing all this though, Goku drops his fighting stance and informs Oolong that he believes he's softer than flower petals on freshly fallen snow. Oolong starts bugging because he can feel the tables turning and tells the kid, oh yeah, if you're so tough, how about you break these bricks with your fake Steven Seagal looking ass? Goku, disrespectful even in his youth, proceeds to collapse the tower of bricks with a single finger like the Browns defense in the third quarter. Realizing he's out of his depth, Oolong transmogrifies into the spirit of Little Dirk and attempts to flee the country. But Goku's right there with him, riding on King Kunta, going hit for hit. Goku catches up, gives Oolong a wedgie, and takes him back to the village for some community justice. Bulma gets her Dragon Ball, and they force Oolong to take them to OVO Island to bring their little girls back. What they found though, I can't even lie, made me laugh and also threw me for a loop. Emboldened by Oolong's small PP energy, it turns out the girls from the village were living like queens back in his estate. Oolong was hoping to intimidate his way into some kind of trad wife situation, but got the turns tabled on him, and now was actually hoping somebody from the village would come and get these sorry ass girls out who refuse to do basic household chores like cleaning up after themselves, let alone the kingly treatment he had in mind when he first snatched them up. With their treasures in tow, the journey for the rest of the Dragon Balls continues. Now with Oolong as a part of the starting roster due to Bulma feeling like his ability to go Mystique will prove handy in the future. Bulma really out here recruiting folks like Professor X.
To me, my little girl kidnappers.
And sorry ass Oolong is convinced to stay on the off chance that he'll get to see Bulma in her drawers at some point. The most down bad roster ever, bro. Out here looking like the 2011 Charlotte Hornets. The crew takes to the season as they talk about the location of the next ball. Oolong sees his chance to skedaddle, turns into a beta fish, and starts scooting away. Bro, the way Bulma gets him back is so foul. Lady puts a pair of her musty underoos on a fishing line, throws him in the water, and in seconds Oolong gets pulled back into the party because he couldn't help himself. Unbelievable. In what looks like an effort to extend a truce, Bulma offers Oolong a piece of candy to show he's appreciated. You already know Oolong down with that junk like Harden in the off season, and the trip continued fairly normally until Bulma informed the crew that the next leg of their trip was to Fire Mountain. They got out the raft, and the moment Long heard where they were headed, took off into the woods yet again on some sneaky stuff. Bulma was prepared though, and as the words piggy reverberated across the forest, Oolong inexplicably found himself messing his trousers like he just downed the craziest bowl of jambalaya in the world. Stomach sounded like somebody firing off a Mac 11. Stomach sounded like somebody trying to microwave a whole roll of quarters. Absolutely hate to see it. Turns out Bulma trusts Oolong about as much as you could trust anyone who turns into George Costanza in an attempt to take girls to a secluded island. So that candy she just gave him was laced. So anytime she says the magic word, Buddy's whole gastrointestinal system starts acting up like somebody threw a pair of Timbs in the dryer. Oolong, baby wipes in hand, trudges his way back to the team, finally ready to behave for the moment. Bulma lost her capsules at some point, so she asked Oolong to turn into a bite so they continue the journey ahead. But boy is weaker than a YouTuber's apology, and after being declined on his offer to transform into a pair of Bulma's briefs, it is decided that they will be taking things to the ground and hoofing it through the remainder of the desert. This leads to our first introduction to everyone's favorite mark, Yamcha. And I can't lie, y'all, the more I process his living conditions and the way we first meet him as a character, the weaker I get. Buddy really out here living alone in the middle of the desert with just his fleshlight, a cat, and a dream, somehow making ends meet by finessing folks who happen to come across his comedy-forsaken shack. I'ma really start calling this man John Arbuckle, out here living in the middle of nowhere, zero hoes, and getting harassed by his cat on a daily basis. Garfield, aka Par, lets him know that they got a few suckers in the vicinity and need to have in their pockets ran and takes off in the desert Segway to greet his company. Mr. Arbuckle pulls up in his own bull from moment one, telling Goku that if he's making laps in his city, he gotta make sure he checks in and comes with donations. Bruh, I cannot. Just the reality of what we know goes down at Z, and seeing our first interaction between Goku and Yamcha looking like this, it just shows you how long of a journey it's been. Before anything gets active though, Par and Oolong have a quick aside. Turns out the two of them met back at Hogwarts together and before homie got expelled for stealing draws from the female teachers on campus. Old Goonlong out here really got a fetish. Man is absolutely out of control. His first instinct is to run away, but then he remembers who he's standing next to, writes a check he forces Goku to cash, then hides behind the nearest set of rocks. The whole time this is going on, Bulma's still knocked out, but out on the front lines, Goku don't mind because he's ready to see what this fella's really about the moment he started talking spicy to him. Yamcha takes a swing, gets weaved instantly, and after almost getting his brain turned into pudding with a power pole smash from the top rope, Goku activates the extendo and leaves John gasping for air. After he asks, Goku lets Yamcha know that his staff as well as his training all come from Gohan, and apparently that name rings bells in the streets because the moment he hears that, he stances up and decides to take things seriously. Now, one thing we gotta get straight is that Yamcha wasn't always the absolute putz we come to know in Z. There was a long stretch of time, especially when we're talking about early on in the series like this, where John Arbuckle was considered a real threat and was going fang to fist with the best of the Dragon Ball cast. Although I can only give little bro so many props here, because while he's about to have Goku looking absolutely crazy a few seconds from now, this is when Goku had that massive I'm hungry debuff gag going on, where bro basically becomes absolutely useless as a living creature whenever he's remotely hungry. And you factor this in with Yamcha's patented Wolf Fang Fist, and you get an unholy combination where Yamcha is dominating Goku in ways that'll become completely unheard of the moment little buddy's growth spurt hits. However, that time is not now, and John Ruga Fufuken leads Goku to getting put through a good 3 cliff sides and the first real on-screen L we've seen Y and Goku take. And the hilarity of Goku's first on-screen L coming from Yamcha is not lost on me. Oolong, ever sensitive to who's on the winning side, attempts to transform into a flying bounce, but is quite literally swatted out the air as Yamcha shuffles his way over and begins to check his pockets again. To everyone's surprise though, Goku emerges from the rubble like I ain't hear no bell, and using his RPS fist, meets John fist to fist, doinks his eyes with levels of precision that would have made Pai Mei proud, and sends him flying with an open palm that in the manga breaks the fourth wall by having him pinball off the top side of the panel and getting planted into the ground. And right as Yamcha picks himself up for round 2, Bulma awakens, and for some reason the moment Buddy makes eye contact, he freezes up like an Uncrustable left in the freezer for 6 months and bounces back to his studio apartment. Turns out John is quite literally an incel, and whenever he sees a girl he's even remotely attracted to, he loses spaghetti faster than Eminem in a rap battle and has a dip, so his rematch with Goku will have to wait for another day. And rather than wondering why the party is half dead, all Bulma could do was investigate, hopes that as unlikely as it may be, the mysterious desert hunk they ran up on might be the one to finally satiate her thirst. The homies prepare to call it a night, setting up camp using one of Oolong's remaining capsules. Bulma hits the showers as Goku verges on the edge of screwing the whole operation up by spelling the news about the Dragon Balls to Oolong. Telling that lion-ass pig about the wish orbs was bad enough, but it just so happens that Yamcha was out here on his peeping John timing with Par doing some reconnaissance, heard the tale of the Dragon Balls, and is now after them as well. After his awakening inadvertently soaking in an eye full of showering Bulma outside the trailer, Yamcha gives us the lore on his character. With zero interest in being a ruler and not really being worried about money since he can get all the cash he needs by running pockets, his primary focus has become his incel tendencies. But he knows he turns into a Joker fan page admin the moment a remotely attractive girl comes into earshot and considers this the bane of his entire existence. All he wants from the Dragon Balls is to make a wish to be deprived of his scaring the hoes energy long enough to get into a proper relationship and maybe even end up married. Man, just look at this wholesome ass Yamcha we get at the top of the series. Low-key makes me weep for what the young man will become. In his heart of hearts, he never wanted to be chasing tail like that, but as time went on, he got possessed by the streets, and now he's out here pushing 60, still blowing up the DMs of the girl that gave him some playback when he was 16. Straight up horror story. And speaking of horror stories, what's going on inside the trailer with Oolong had me side-eyeing Oolong crazier than Forrest Whitaker. He and Goku were having a dialogue inside, with Goku trying to figure out just what the hell had Oolong so preoccupied with women when they were basically these weird space creatures without Dragon Balls and power poles. Oolong, under the guise of doing something selfless for the household, slipped Bulma something crazy in her OJ, leading her to get extra sleepy after that bath and ready for some R&R. Bruh, nobody told me Oolong was going to be out here transmogrifying into the Pudding Pop King. Man is really out here on this Rick Ross time and thinking the whole affair is sweet. At this point, I want Yamcha to come in there acting up. Oolong needs to be taken out back to tend the rabbits for his own good. As Oolong creeps his way up the stairs and Goku falls victim to his Dr. Drink, before Oolong can act on the instincts that would be sure to seal his fate after reaching cell block 1, a sound downstairs broke him out of his lecherous stupor. And here, with best laid plans being thrown to the wind, is where we'll call it. Tune in next time, homies, as the mess in Trailer Park Z continues. Will Goku and Bulma wake up in time to protect their treasures from the lowly desert punk? Or will Yamcha's devious ways win out, leading him one step closer to the waifu of his dreams? Only one way to find out. Be easy, y'all. Catch you again in the next video.